Welcome to Elder Zen. Hit subscribe for simple health tips made just for seniors. Stay tuned. Your next great day starts here. Have you ever found yourself lingering at the dinner table after a family meal, as the plates are cleared and the stories start to flow? Maybe you've listened as an uncle recounted his recent blood pressure scare, or your sister explained the latest in her diabetes routine. Sometimes the conversation drifts to those quieter moments, the time a neighbor went to the hospital with no warning, or the sudden loss of a distant cousin. These stories might sound familiar, even a little repetitive. Over time, they start to form a pattern, a patchwork of aches, hospital visits, and pills that seems to stitch itself into the very fabric of your family. But if you listen closely, there's something deeper beneath those stories. It's not just about random aches and pains. For many seniors, it's the realization that certain health challenges seem to follow the family generation after generation. Maybe you've started to wonder if your own path is already written, if your future is a mirror of your parents' or siblings' struggles. You hear doctors talk about family history and genetic risk, and suddenly, those words take on a heavier meaning. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, even powerless, when faced with the idea that your health might be determined by your DNA. But what if we could flip the script? Imagine if understanding your family history and genetic risks wasn't a burden, but a tool, something that lets you take control, protect yourself, and even set a new, healthier path for your children and grandchildren. Today, I want to invite you on a different kind of journey. We're going to talk about pulmonary embolism, a medical term that sounds intimidating, but simply means a dangerous blood clot that travels to the lungs. You may have heard stories about blood clots striking without warning, sometimes affecting even the healthiest people in the room. It raises the question, why do these clots happen? Is it just bad luck, or is there something in your family tree that increases your risk? And, perhaps most importantly, can you do anything about it, even if your family history feels daunting? This isn't just about the science or medical jargon. We'll break things down in simple terms, translating complex ideas into steps you can use right now to feel safer, more confident, and more in control of your future. You'll hear real stories from people who faced these challenges and made new choices because of what they learned about their own families. We'll talk about what clues to look for in your family's health history and how the choices you make today can change not just your own story, but the health of those who come after you. Here's the most hopeful news. Your DNA is only one chapter in your story. The more you know, the more empowered you are to live a longer, stronger, more independent life. Whether you've already had a scare or simply want to be proactive, you have the power to change the narrative for yourself and those you love. So grab your favorite chair, maybe jot down a few notes, and settle in as we uncover the truth about pulmonary embolism, genetics, and the practical steps that can keep you and your family thriving for years to come. Let's start with the basics, because even for those who have experienced a blood clot, the medical terms can sound confusing. Pulmonary embolism, or PE, isn't just another item on a long list of health risks. It's a condition that deserves special attention, especially for seniors. So what is a pulmonary embolism? In simple terms, happens when a blood clot forms in another part of your body, most often deep inside the veins of your legs or pelvis, and then travels up to block an artery in your lungs. Imagine your bloodstream as a busy city highway. When a blood clot shows up unexpectedly, it's like a sudden traffic jam that halts the flow, blocking oxygen and putting critical organs at risk. The result can be very serious, even fatal, if not caught in time. Now, why is this such a big concern for older adults? First, the statistics are sobering. After age 60, your risk of developing a blood clot rises sharply. That's because as we get older, our blood tends to thicken more easily, and our circulation slows down. Add in other common factors, like recovering from surgery, sitting still for long stretches, or dealing with heart conditions or mild dehydration, and suddenly, the chance of a clot sneaking up on you increases dramatically. What makes pulmonary embolism especially tricky is that it often hides in plain sight. Unlike the dramatic chest pain we see in movies, the warning signs for seniors can be much more subtle. Maybe you notice you're a bit more short of breath than usual, or you feel mildly confused or just off. Maybe your leg swells up or feels sore, but you chalk it up to getting older. The danger is that these symptoms are easy to overlook, even by medical professionals. Let me share a story that brings this home. Richard, a lively 75-year-old who loved gardening, started feeling a little more winded than usual. He ignored some swelling in his leg, thinking it was just old age. After a minor fall, he ended up in the emergency room, where doctors found a pulmonary embolism, one that could have been deadly if left untreated. This experience is a powerful reminder. If you've had a deep vein thrombosis DVT before, or if someone in your family has suffered a blood clot, your personal risk is higher. And that's just the starting point for understanding the role of genetics. Now, as we peel back the layers of this topic, let's move beyond what you can see and feel and step into the invisible world that shapes so much of our health. Our genes, for many of us, the word genetics sounds distant, even intimidating. A subject for scientists and lab coats or complicated family trees. But in reality, your genetics are simply the set of instructions you received from your parents. Little messages written into every cell of your body. Sometimes these messages are easy to see, like your eye color or your smile. Other times, they shape things we can't see at all, like the way your blood responds to a cut or your risk of forming dangerous clots. Let's get to the heart of it. Some people are born with changes in certain genes that make their blood more likely to clot. These changes have names: factor V Leiden, prothrombin mutations, deficiencies in protein C, protein S, or antithrombin. While those words might sound like alphabet soup, here's what matters. If you inherit one of these gene changes from your parents, your blood's natural stop-and-go system is slightly tilted toward stop. That means clots can form faster and linger longer, especially when other risk factors are present. But before you start worrying, remember, having a gene for clotting isn't a guarantee you'll get sick. In fact, most people with these genetic traits will never experience a pulmonary embolism. The magic, if we can call it that, happens when genes and life circumstances collide. For example, you might go your whole life without a problem until you have surgery, take certain hormone medications, or spend a long time inactive. That's when a hidden genetic risk can suddenly become very real. Let's paint a clearer picture. Imagine your blood as a team of workers. When everything is balanced, the workers quickly patch up any leaks, stopping bleeding, and then go back to their normal jobs. But with some inherited changes, those workers get a little too eager. They keep piling on patch after patch, even when they're not needed. Over time, this can lead to a blockage, a clot that forms in the wrong place at the wrong time, and here's where it gets even more personal. Family history matters as much as, or sometimes even more, than a genetic test result. If your parents, siblings, or children have had blood clots, you might share more than just stories and recipes. You could share a heightened risk. But, and this is crucial, your genes do not decide everything. Lifestyle, environment, and the choices you make every day play a huge role in whether that genetic risk ever becomes a reality. Many people with a bad gene for clotting live their entire lives without trouble because they stay active, keep hydrated, manage their weight, and avoid known triggers. Conversely, someone with no known genetic risk but a lot of unhealthy habits could still develop a clot. Let's ground this in a real-world example. Take the story of Julia, a 69-year-old who always prided herself on healthy living. After her sister suffered a pulmonary embolism at age 63, Julia became curious about her own risk. She talked to her doctor, who recommended a simple blood test for clotting genes. When Julia learned she carried the factor V Leiden mutation, she didn't panic. Instead, she felt empowered. She started sharing her family history with every new doctor, avoided unnecessary hormone medications, and made sure to move around on long trips. For Julia, knowledge wasn't a burden. It was a flashlight guiding her through the fog of uncertainty. That's why. For all of us, genetics should be seen not as a sentence, but as information. It's a piece of the puzzle. Knowing your family. Story, your own risk factors, and your daily habits all work together to paint the full picture of your health. So as you listen today, take a moment to reflect. What do you know about your family's medical past? Have there been unexplained illnesses, sudden losses, or patterns of blood clots or strokes? Have you or someone you love experienced a health scare that made you question your own risk? If so, you're already a step ahead because awareness is the first ingredient in prevention. And remember, if your doctor ever mentions genetic testing, it's not to scare you, it's to give you more control. These tests are often quick, usually a blood draw, and the results can help tailor your care for years to come. Some people find comfort in knowing their exact risks. Others prefer to focus on lifestyle changes and let their actions, not their ancestry, guide their choices. Both paths are valid. In the end, whether you carry a clotting gene or not, the lesson is universal. The more you understand about the hidden forces in your body, the more power you have to shape your own future. You're not just a passenger on this health journey, you're the captain. And the choices you make matter every single day. Let's keep this conversation going. Because up next, we'll unravel how your family history can give you even more. Clues about your risk and what you can do right now with the knowledge you already have to protect your health and your independence. Stay with me, because these next steps may surprise you. As we continue our journey, let's shift our focus from the intricate world of genes to something much closer to home, your family history. This is not just about dusty family trees or faded black and white photos. It's about the patterns woven into the stories told around your dinner table, the medical secrets whispered between siblings, and the collective experiences that echo through generations. Think back for a moment. Have you ever noticed how some families seem to share the same health stories again and again? Perhaps it's high blood pressure that everyone jokes about, or maybe diabetes that's quietly managed behind closed doors. But sometimes these patterns point to something much more elusive, like blood clots, strokes, or sudden unexplained illnesses that no one really talks about. But everyone remembers. Why does family history matter so much when it comes to blood clots, and especially pulmonary embolism? It's because even if you don't have a specific clotting gene identified, clusters of similar health events can be red flags for inherited risk factors. These are clues, hints that something more than luck or lifestyle might be at play. Let's make this even more tangible. Imagine you're sitting at a family reunion. Between bites of potato salad and laughter over old photographs, the conversation turns, as it often does, to health. Someone mentions how Uncle Joe just dropped dead after surgery, or Aunt Betty always complained about swollen legs and spent years on blood thinners. You may not realize it in that moment, but you're actually gathering critical information about your own health. Blueprint, it's in these stories that we find patterns worth paying attention to. Sudden deaths or strokes before age 60. Relatives. Maybe more than one who had blood clots, especially in the legs or lungs. Aunts, sisters, or grandmothers with repeated miscarriages. Sometimes a sign of hidden clotting disorders in women. Family members who were told to take blood thinners just in case, or who faced serious complications after surgery or long travel. These aren't just old wives' tales. They are data points, threads connecting your health story to the generations that came before you. And here's why that matters. If you know these patterns exist, you can alert your doctor, advocate for screenings, and make choices that tip the scales in your favor. Let's bring this idea to life with a true story. Eleanor, a retired teacher, always thought her mother's bad veins were just part of aging. At a holiday gathering, she finally asked her cousin about a vague memory, her aunt's sudden hospital stay in her 50s. The cousin explained that their aunt had suffered a pulmonary embolism after a minor fall. That revelation was a turning point. Eleanor shared this family pattern with her doctor, who ordered blood tests that uncovered a hereditary clotting risk Eleanor never knew she had. With this knowledge, her care changed. More careful medication management, tailored travel advice, and routine checkups that kept her healthy and independent for years to come. Maybe your family history isn't so clear. Maybe details are lost to time or conversations about health. We're always kept behind closed doors. Even so, you can still gather clues. If you notice a pattern, clots, strokes, unexplained deaths, or persistent leg swelling, write it down and share it with your healthcare team. The more your doctor knows about your family, the more personalized and proactive your care can become. Now, you might wonder, isn't all this just bad luck? Not at all. Patterns exist for a reason, and while we can't control what we inherit, we absolutely can control what we do with that information. This is where your story can change. This is where the power shifts from fear and fatalism to action and hope. So as you reflect on your family's journey, ask yourself, what stories have you heard? What questions have gone unasked? Maybe it's time to reach out to relatives, to gently inquire about past illnesses or medications, and to jot down those patterns for your own records. Even a handful of notes in a notebook can become the map that helps you and your doctor navigate the road ahead with clarity and confidence. As we move forward, keep this in mind. You are the bridge between generations. By understanding your family's past, you're building a healthier, safer path for yourself, your children, and even your grandchildren. And that, more than anything, is a legacy worth leaving. Up next, we'll explore how lifestyle and triggers can interact with your genetics and family history, giving you even more tools to shape a vibrant, independent future. Stay tuned. The journey only gets more empowering from here. Let's keep this journey going as we shift into segment 4. Lifestyle, triggers, and your genes. Why both matter? Because, as you'll soon see, your day-to-day decisions hold remarkable power, no matter what your DNA may suggest. So after learning about family history and those invisible threads that connect us to our past, you might be wondering, if I'm already at risk because of my genetics, does it even matter what I do today? Or am I simply destined to repeat what happened to my parents and grandparents? That's a powerful, sometimes unsettling question. But the truth is, while genetics can load the gun, it's lifestyle and environment that pull the trigger, or, just as importantly, keep it safely locked away. Let's pause and really consider what that means. Having a family history of blood clots or pulmonary embolism does not mean you're doomed to follow the same path. It means you have valuable information, an early warning sign. It's a chance to make choices that protect and even transform your future. So instead of feeling stuck, you can feel empowered. How does this work in real life? Picture this. Bill, age 80, always lived with a quiet fear after his father's early passing due to a sudden blood clot. He knew the stories, saw the patterns, and even wondered at times if he was just waiting for the same fate. But instead of giving in to fear, Bill started making conscious choices. He took daily walks around the neighborhood, even on days when his knees protested. He brought a big glass of water to every meal, making hydration a non-negotiable habit. He kept his weight steady, checked in with his doctor every year, and stayed on top of his blood pressure. Today, Bill is not just surviving, he's thriving. His doctor often tells him that his healthy lifestyle has switched off many of the dangers he might have inherited. Now, let's break down exactly why these choices matter. The science shows that genetics alone rarely cause a blood clot to form. Instead, it's the combination of risk factors and triggers, many of which we can control, that tip the balance. Consider a few of the most common triggers. Immobility. Long periods of sitting after surgery, illness, or even a long car or plane trip let blood pool in the legs, making it easier for clots to form. That's why doctors always encourage movement, even if it's just wiggling your toes or stretching. In your chair, major injuries or surgery. Trauma, especially to the hips, knees, or abdomen, can trigger your body's clotting system. This is especially risky for those who already have an inherited clotting tendency. Cancer and certain treatments. Some cancers and their treatments raise clotting risk, and this can interact with genetic vulnerabilities in surprising ways. Hormones. For women, birth control pills, hormone replacement therapy, or even pregnancy itself can boost the risk especially. If you carry certain gene mutations, dehydration. It might seem simple, but not drinking enough fluids thickens your blood and sets the stage for trouble, especially for older adults, whose sense of thirst may fade. And here's where it gets hopeful. Every time you choose to move, to hydrate, to manage your weight, or to follow your doctor's advice on medications, you are pushing back against your inherited risks. You're writing your own story, one healthy choice at a time. But what if you do have a higher risk? Should you live in fear or change everything about your life? The answer is neither. Instead, focus on the little habits that add up to big protection. If you're planning a trip, get up and walk the aisle. Flex your ankles and drink extra. Water after surgery. Follow your rehab plan and don't skip the recommended movements, even if you're tired. Pay attention to swelling, pain, or shortness of breath, and never be afraid to call your doctor if something feels off. Let every meal be a chance to add hydration, more vegetables, and less salt. It's about building a toolkit, a set of everyday habits that work together to protect your independence, your energy, and your sense of control. And perhaps most importantly, it's about shifting your mindset. You're not just managing risk, you're investing in years of joy, mobility, and connection with those you love. As we move into our next segment, keep this truth at heart. No matter what your genes may say, you have the power to change your future. By understanding both the science and the simple steps that matter, you can stand confidently at the crossroads of family history and personal choice, choosing a path that's brighter, stronger, and uniquely your own. So, let's continue together, exploring how knowledge, communication, and a proactive spirit can make all the difference in the years ahead. As we move forward, let's turn our focus to something that's often wrapped in both curiosity and uncertainty. The truth about genetic testing, should you get it. Because after all the stories, all the science, and all the practical advice, one big question still lingers in the minds of many seniors. Should I get tested for these clotting genes? Would knowing the results actually help me, or just make me worry more? It's a fair question, and you're certainly not alone if you've ever wondered about it. Genetic testing sounds almost futuristic, a chance to peek inside your DNA to see what risks might be waiting. But, like any medical tool, it's only powerful when used wisely, thoughtfully, and in a way that truly fits your needs and your peace of mind. Let's walk through this decision together, step by step. Picture yourself sitting in your doctor's office, perhaps after a health scare or a routine checkup, and the topic of family history comes up. Maybe your doctor suggests a blood test to look for certain clotting mutations, names like factor V. Leiden or prothrombin G2021OA. Maybe you're the one who brings it up. After hearing stories or doing some research online, so who should really consider genetic testing for clotting risks? The answer isn't the same for everyone. If you've had a personal history of unexplained blood clots or a pulmonary embolism that came out of the blue, especially at a young age, testing can be incredibly valuable. The same goes if you have multiple family members who have suffered clots, strokes, or miscarriages, or if you're considering hormone therapy and have a strong family history of clots. For these groups, knowing your genetic status can shape your future care, guide medication choices, and help you and your family stay safer during times of higher risk, like surgery or long trips. But there's another side to consider. For some people, getting tested brings peace of mind. For others, it can spark anxiety, especially if the results show a mutation, but you've never had a clot yourself. It's so important to remember. A positive genetic test does not mean you are destined for a blood clot. In fact, many people with these genes never have any problems, especially if they make smart lifestyle choices and avoid certain triggers. And just as crucial, a negative test doesn't mean you can ignore other risks. Lifestyle, age, and other health factors still matter. That's why, before you decide to get tested, it helps to have an open, honest conversation with your healthcare provider, a doctor who knows your story, understands your family history, and can help you weigh the benefits and limitations of testing. Ask questions like, how would these results change my care? Will this information help my children or grandchildren if I test? Positive, what changes should I make in my daily life? And, will insurance cover this, or could it affect my coverage in the future? Genetic testing, after all, is a tool, one that, when used wisely, can bring clarity and a new sense of control. But it's never a substitute for the tried and true habits we discussed earlier. Movement, hydration, monitoring symptoms, and staying connected to your healthcare team. In many cases, the best approach is a blend using the knowledge from your genes as one piece of a larger, more complete puzzle. Let's hear from someone who faced this very decision. Take Sarah, 67, whose mother and sister both suffered blood clots in their 50s. After talking with her doctor, she chose to get tested, hoping to find answers for her children as much as for herself. When the results showed she carried a clotting gene, Sarah was at first overwhelmed, but with her doctor's support, she came up with a plan. Moving daily, wearing compression stockings during travel, and making sure every doctor she sees knows her genetic risk. She feels not only more prepared, but empowered, knowing she's taking active steps for her own health and sharing vital knowledge with her family. So, as you reflect on the possibility of genetic testing, remember, it's not about living in fear of what your genes might say. It's about embracing the opportunity to know yourself more deeply, to make informed choices, and to turn knowledge into strength. And if you decide it's not right for you, that's perfectly okay too, because every health journey is unique. And you know your needs, your peace of mind, and your story best. As we move into the next segment, keep this idea close. Knowledge, when used with wisdom and compassion, isn't just powerful, it's liberating. It puts the pen back in your hand, letting you write the next chapter of your life with intention and confidence. So, let's continue. Together, turning uncertainty into empowerment and information into action. Now, as we continue this journey together, let's gently shift our focus to something that so many of us encounter but rarely talk about openly. Everyday life with a higher genetic risk for blood clots. If you've ever been told by a doctor that you have a family tendency for clots, or if you've gotten test results showing a genetic mutation, you may have felt a wave of worry or even a sense of resignation. Does this mean I'm bound to follow the same path as my parents? Will I have to live my whole life in fear, waiting for the other shoe to drop? These questions are deeply human, and you're not alone if they keep you up at night. But here's where I want you to pause and take a breath. Because there is another way to look at this one that's filled with hope, practical wisdom, and a sense of agency. You see, carrying a higher genetic risk doesn't mean you are powerless. In fact, it can be the very thing that empowers you to take action, to listen more closely to your body, and to make choices that support your well-being every single day. Let's start with something simple but powerful: daily movement. No matter your age or fitness level, the act of moving, whether it's a stroll around the block, gentle stretching in the living room, or even a few ankle rotations while you sit, and READ can make a world of difference. Movement is nature's own medicine, helping your blood flow smoothly, keeping your joints supple, and giving your spirit a lift. Think of it as a gentle nudge to your circulation, telling it to stay active and resilient. And movement doesn't have to mean intense exercise. For many older adults, it's about weaving small bursts of activity throughout the day, standing during phone calls, flexing your feet and calves while watching TV, or making a habit of getting up every hour. These little actions add up. They are proof that your health isn't shaped by grand gestures, but by the rhythm of your daily life. Next, let's talk about hydration. It's easy to overlook, but staying well hydrated keeps your blood at the right consistency, making it less likely to form dangerous clots. For those with a genetic risk, this habit is even more crucial. Perhaps you keep a pitcher of water at your side, or set gentle reminders to sip throughout the day. Maybe you pair every cup of tea or coffee with a glass of water. It's not just about quenching your thirst. It's about supporting the very foundation of your health, one glass at a time. Another layer of protection is wearing compression stockings during times of increased risk, like after surgery, during long travel, or if you're not moving as much due to illness. As we discussed earlier, these stockings gently encourage blood flow, adding one more layer of defense, especially when used alongside movement and hydration. But perhaps most empowering is learning to know the warning signs and to truly listen to your body. A sudden swelling in the leg, shortness of breath that seems to come out of nowhere, unexplained chest pain, or a heavy, aching calf. These are not just aches to shrug off. They are messages, early signals that something may be wrong. Responding quickly, calling your doctor, or going to the emergency room could be the difference between a small scare and a major crisis. This isn't about living in fear. It's about honoring your body's wisdom and trusting your instincts, of course. One of the most important things you can do is to share your family history and genetic information with every healthcare provider you see. Write it down. Carry a card in your wallet and bring it up, especially before starting any new medication, undergoing surgery, or if you're hospitalized. This simple act could save your life, and it empowers your doctors to tailor their care to your unique needs. And please remember, your mental and emotional health matter too. It's normal to feel anxious when you learn about a higher genetic risk. But talking openly with your loved ones, joining support groups, or even seeking professional counseling can help turn anxiety into action. You are not alone on this path. Your story, your experiences, and your courage can help others in your family or community face their own risks with greater confidence. So, as you move forward, let this knowledge be your ally, not your burden. Every small step, every healthy choice, every honest conversation is a victory, not just over risk, but over fear itself. By embracing both your strengths and your vulnerabilities, you are building a future filled with more possibility, more connection, and more peace of mind. Let's keep moving, together one empowered day at a time. Now, as we keep going, let's pause for a moment to really reflect on what it means to live each day with this kind of knowledge. You may have recently discovered, through a conversation with your doctor or a family member, that your risk for blood clots is a little higher than average. Maybe you've had genetic testing, or maybe you've just started to notice patterns in your family history. Perhaps you feel a subtle sense of worry every time you notice a twinge in your leg, or you find yourself checking in with loved ones about how they're feeling after a long car ride or a hospital stay. But here's what I want you to take away. Living with a higher risk doesn't have to feel like a weight you carry alone. In fact, it can become a source of connection, a reason to open up important conversations with your children, your siblings, and your healthcare team. When you talk openly about your family's health, you're not just sharing stories. You're building a legacy of awareness and resilience that can benefit generations to come. Let's talk about those conversations with your doctor, because that's one of the most powerful things you can do for your health. Before each visit, take a few minutes to jot down the health events that have happened in your family. Was there a cousin who had a clot after surgery? Did your mother or father have unexplained swelling or shortness of breath? Have there been strokes, heart attacks, or sudden deaths that left you with questions? Even if the details are fuzzy, bring these stories with you. They are vital clues for your doctor. They help your care team understand your risks and may prompt them to recommend screenings or preventive strategies tailored specifically for you. But don't stop there. Come prepared with your own questions you might ask. Based on my family history, am I a candidate for genetic testing? Or should I be taking special precautions when I travel or recover from illness? Maybe you'll want to know, what symptoms should I watch for? And what's the fastest way to get help if I notice them? Writing these questions down not only ensures you won't forget them in the rush of the appointment, but it also shows your doctor that you're an engaged and proactive partner in your own care. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Imagine sitting with your adult children or grandchildren at a family gathering, and instead of just sharing old photos or favorite recipes, you share the story of how you learned about your own risk and what you're doing to protect yourself. You might encourage them to pay attention to their own health, to ask questions about family history, and to make healthy choices, even if they're still young. It's these simple, honest conversations that can plant seeds of awareness and prevention, not just for you, but for everyone you care about. Of course, life isn't just about planning for what might go wrong. It's about celebrating what's going right. Each time you take a walk, eat a balanced meal, or remember to drink water, you're not just following doctor's orders, you're taking concrete steps to support your well-being. And when you practice these habits, you're also modeling them for others in your family and community. It's about turning fear into action, and action into empowerment. Don't underestimate the value of community support either. Whether it's joining a local walking group, attending health workshops at your senior center, or simply calling a friend to check in, these small connections can help you stay motivated and remind you that you're not on this journey alone. Sometimes, knowing that someone else understands someone else has walked this path before you can make all the difference when it comes to staying positive and engaged. And above all, remember that your story matters. Your willingness to ask questions, to share what you learn, and to look after yourself is a gift not only to yourself, but to everyone who loves you. You're creating a ripple effect of knowledge and courage that extends far beyond your own life. Every step you take, every conversation you have, is a part of that legacy. So, as you continue forward, hold on to the knowledge that you are stronger and more capable than you may realize. Your future is not fixed by your genes or your family tree. It is shaped day by day by your choices, your courage, and your willingness to keep learning and connecting. Let's keep growing and supporting each other, one story, one step, and one empowered decision at a time. As we move deeper into this conversation, I want to remind you that no matter where you are in your health journey, whether you've just begun to learn about your family history, or you've lived with concerns about blood clots for years, every step you take toward understanding is a step toward empowerment. And it's never too late to start asking questions or making small changes that can truly impact your well-being. Let's take a moment to talk about how even the smallest decisions in daily life can have a ripple effect. For many seniors, routines bring comfort. Maybe you like to wake up early, savor a cup of coffee, take a walk around the block, or enjoy tending your plants. These moments aren't just filling time, they're opportunities to check in with your body, to notice how you feel, to catch subtle changes that might signal something important. And as you practice this gentle self-awareness, you're not only protecting yourself, but also modeling the importance of paying attention to health for those around you: children, grandchildren, friends, even neighbors who quietly observe your habits. Perhaps you're someone who likes to jot down notes in a calendar or diary. That's a wonderful habit, not just for remembering birthdays or appointments, but also for keeping track of any new symptoms or patterns that emerge. Maybe you've noticed some swelling after a long car ride, or you've felt unusually tired. After gardening, maybe a cousin mentions a diagnosis of deep vein thrombosis, and it sparks a memory of a similar experience in your own family. Writing these things down, even if they seem small, helps you spot trends over time and provides invaluable information for your healthcare team. It's like assembling the pieces of a puzzle, each detail adding clarity to your unique health. Picture now, let's turn our focus to the conversations that can make all the difference. It's so easy, isn't it, to feel like your concerns aren't important enough to mention to your doctor. But every question, every observation, every piece of your story matters. Doctors are skilled and caring, but they don't live. In your body, they need your voice, your insight, and your honesty to give you the best possible care. Don't wait until an emergency to bring up your concerns. Make it a habit to review your family history at each appointment. Ask for clarification if you don't understand something, and insist on clear, plain language explanations for any test or treatment being recommended. If you find yourself feeling shy or uncertain, remember that you are not alone. Bring a friend, a spouse, or an adult child with you to appointments, someone who can help remember details, ask questions, or provide a comforting presence. Sometimes, just having an extra pair of ears makes all the difference, especially if you're receiving new information or complex instructions. And what about those family gatherings, the birthdays, holidays, or Sunday dinners where health stories seem to pop up naturally? These moments are golden opportunities to share what you've learned. You might ask, has anyone else in the family ever had swelling in their legs or trouble breathing after a trip? Or you might share your own experiences and encourage younger relatives to pay attention to their health too. These conversations aren't about spreading fear. They're about building a foundation of awareness and resilience that will serve your family for generations. As we continue, let's acknowledge that living with genetic risk can feel overwhelming at times, but there is so much hope in the everyday choices you make. Regular movement, even gentle stretches or short walks, can keep your blood flowing smoothly. Drinking enough water, managing your weight, and staying on top of chronic conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes are all powerful tools in your hands. And don't underestimate the value of joy. Laughter, meaningful connection, and activities that bring you happiness can all support your overall well-being. If you faced setbacks, a hospitalization, a health scare, or the loss of a loved one, give yourself grace. Every day is a new opportunity to move forward, to learn, and to grow stronger. And if you ever feel uncertain, reach out. Ask your doctor for guidance, lean on your family, and draw strength from your community. There's wisdom all around you, waiting to be shared. So as we approach the end of our time together today, I hope you feel not only informed, but also inspired. Inspired to keep asking questions, to keep sharing your story, and to keep building healthy habits one day at a time. Your life, your health, and your voice matter deeply, not just to you, but to everyone whose life you touch. And together, step by step, we can create a future that's not only healthier, but richer, more joyful, and more connected than ever before. As we journey on, it's worth reflecting on how, as we age, the balance between caution and confidence becomes even more important in our daily lives. For many seniors, life can sometimes feel like walking a tightrope. On one side is the urge to enjoy every moment and live freely. On the other is the growing awareness that our bodies need extra care, a little more attention than they once did. But here's a truth that bears repeating. You are not defined by your risks, your family, history, or even your age. You are defined by your choices, your wisdom, and your ability to adapt. So let's take a closer look at how you can take charge, day by day. Imagine starting your morning not with worry, but with a gentle check and a quiet moment to notice how you feel from head to toe. Are your legs swollen or sore? Do you feel rested, or is something a little off? These small observations can be powerful early warning signs, and, when shared with your doctor, can lead to quicker diagnoses and more effective care. But your toolkit for prevention goes far beyond body checks. Let's talk about movement 1. Of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, maybe you enjoy a stroll around your garden, or perhaps gentle stretches by the window bring you peace. Each step you take, each moment you spend moving, is like opening a window and letting fresh air circulate through your whole system. Blood flows better, joints loosen up, and your heart, that faithful engine, beats a little stronger. If mobility is a challenge, remember even simple chair exercises or lifting your heels while sitting can make a big difference. The key is consistency, not intensity. Hydration is another cornerstone of well-being, often overlooked but incredibly important. Try placing a water bottle within easy reach by your favorite chair, next to your bed, or on the kitchen counter. You could even set gentle reminders. Or tie the habit to another routine, perhaps a glass with every meal or a sip after every phone call. Staying hydrated isn't just about quenching thirst. It's about keeping your blood at the right consistency, giving your body its best chance to function smoothly. Of course, nutrition is another area where you have real power. Filling your plate with colorful fruits, leafy greens, and whole grains does more than provide nutrients, it nourishes your entire being. Small changes, like swapping out processed snacks for a bowl of berries or a handful of nuts, may seem minor but can have lasting impact. And if you're ever unsure about what's best for you, don't hesitate to ask a doctor or dietitian for guidance. They're there to help, and your questions matter now. Let's turn our gaze toward medication, often a source of confusion and concern, especially for those managing multiple prescriptions. Keeping a current list of all your medications, including over-the-counter pills and supplements, is a smart habit. Bring it to every appointment, and don't be shy about asking your healthcare provider to review it with you. Are there any interactions you should know about? Is every medication still necessary, or could your regimen be simplified? These conversations not only protect your health, but also foster a sense of partnership with your medical team. It's also important to embrace the role of community in health. Maybe you belong to a club, a faith group, or simply have a circle of close friends and family. Sharing your experiences and what you've learned about blood clots, family history, or prevention strategies can ripple outward in powerful ways. Someone you care about might recognize their own symptoms or risks because of a story you shared. In this way, your commitment to your own health becomes a gift to your whole community. As we prepare to wrap up this discussion, let's pause too. Recognize your strength, the resilience that's brought you through challenges, and the openness that keeps you learning. You are more than a collection of medical facts or risks. You are the sum of your experiences, your hopes, and your capacity to make new choices every day. So as you move forward, take pride in the steps you're taking, however small they may seem. Stay curious, stay compassionate toward yourself. And remember that every positive change, no matter how minor, adds up over time. The story of your health is still being written, one mindful decision at a time. And you, more than anyone else, hold the pen. Thank you for continuing this journey with me. Together, let's keep moving forward toward more days filled with strength, purpose, and peace of mind.